The social event is next month.
Oh, okay. So you want to follow your next one?
Actually, we do. We're still trying to set it up, but I think we're going to be moving next door for next month's meeting. We want to be able to fit everybody in, and there's just not enough room in here if we bring everybody, plus some donuts and some drinks and stuff, and all of the stuff you guys have been building and want to show off next month. So there's just not enough room here, and this is probably the largest group we've had in here in a while.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is
60. I counted here.
This is great. We have over 100 members in the club, and it's growing. Every year we keep getting a few more members. So we are going to have to, I've talked to Councilman Ellis, and he's allowed us to go next door when this place isn't available. The problem is it looks like it's not going to be big enough, so I'm going to have to go talk to him and see if we can't move over there long term. I'll still work on that. I'll keep you guys updated what's going on. So we had the Christmas party last month. I don't know how many of you attended. I know a lot of people attended. It was lots of good food and prizes and things, and we had a good time, I think. It's one of our best meetings of the year, that and the steak fry, because there's food involved. All you got to do is offer food, and I'm there. I wish I wrote down names and stuff. Someone was talking about doing Winter Field Day this year.
There's a couple of us doing it.
A couple of doing it. If you're interested, there's some information. It's January 25th through 26th. You can find out more information at Winter Field Day, or if you can contact Stan or somebody else. There's going to be a few people doing it if you're interested in seeing what's going on with Winter Field Day. We also have the Utah Valley Hamfest coming up. It'll be May 8th and 9th at the Utah Valley University Sorensen Center down there in Orem. A long way from here, but I think the way they have it set up, if you take the train down, they have a bus that goes straight over there from the train stop. There's going to be a lot of speakers, a lot of activities, all kinds of stuff. It's a Hamfest. Utah Valley's Amateur Radio Club is one of the bigger ones now in Utah. So they're growing like crazy down there. I'm actually going to be presenting down there. I'm going to be doing a presentation on mobile installs. I did that one over at the Hamfest last year, and they wanted me to come down and do it again for them. So,
where do you park when you go down there?
That's a good question.
Oh, you'll find out.
I really don't know, but I'll find out more information. He doesn't say anywhere in this little email he sent out, so I'll find out some more information on that.
There's 2 parking lots scheduled.
Is there? Okay. So there's probably parking over there. If I'm going down, I think I'm gonna probably go down on the train. I don't know if I want to drive all the way down there, especially with all these crazy drivers. The Utah VHF Society Swap Meet is next month on the 22nd of February. So we're going to meet as a club again before that happens. The club, I told Mel Parks that we need 3 tables. So the club's got 3 tables to put stuff on. I've got several boxes of stuff that were given to the club that if we need to sell off and benefit the club for, I think we'll put that money in the repeater fund. We need some help there. But if Jerry, where is he? Is he here today? He's not here. He's got still another box or 2 of stuff that he wants to sell. So that's one of the best events of the year to get stuff if you need it. Lots and lots of stuff. It says it starts at 9. If you get there at 9, everything's gone. So you might want to get there just a little bit early. We also have the Digital Communications Conference coming up.
That was in the same place as last year, correct?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's back in Building 2 instead of Building 3. But
Right
it's in that same, yeah, they're both next to each other. You show up, you watch the one where everybody's coming out with big boxes of stuff, and that's the one you want to go in.
This year they're going to have a separate door for people who are prepaid on their meter.
Yeah, they usually do. The ones that are prepaid, I believe you go through the west door, and everybody else goes through. To prepay, just go to the Utah VHF Society's website. There's a link there to pay through PayPal. Every year it says to pay for, if you're going to use PayPal to make it worth their while, you pay for 2 years at a time. I think I've done that for the past 5 years, so I've paid up for the next 10 years or something. But I don't mind it because they do so much good stuff with all the repeaters. If you've used the Intermountain Intertie, you know what I mean. That thing gets you communications all the way up and down from Boise to Las Vegas and places in between.
They've helped fund our repeaters too.
They help fund our repeaters. They help fund repeaters for a lot of clubs up and down the area. And it's one of the reasons why we have the digital on the Yaesu available, and the Wires X, which was set up by Todd. And who else helped set that up? Was it Scott? So we have that set up, but we couldn't have done it without the repeaters that we have. So if you use that feature at all, that's a good one. A good addition to the club's communications.
When and where is that digital communication?
The Digital Communication Conference is on the 15th of February.
So that's the same day as our meeting, right? Third Saturday?
Yeah.
We're gonna, we'd rather come to this one instead of going down there, but that's disheartening to know that they're the same day.
Yeah. It's later this year than it has been in past years. Normally it's towards the beginning of February. This one's a little bit later, and I'm not sure. It might have been a scheduling thing. But it's there. I'm letting you know if you want to go there instead.
It's worthwhile, but...
It is worthwhile. It's
they do have sessions all the way through
yeah, so we could have the meeting here. We could try and keep it short, and then you guys could head down there. No?
Not going to be short.
It's not going to be short?
No, they never are.
So where is it?
It's down there at the Salt Lake Community College Conference Center, where it usually is, right?
Okay.
Sandy, yeah.
Down in Sandy. It's a little weird to get back in there, but once you get there, it's not a problem. Once you've been there once, it's not a problem. The cost is $15 still, $20 at the door. You can register at utah-dcc.org. Just look up Utah Digital Communications Conference. It comes right up. The Quartz Fest, which is down in Quartzsite, Arizona, that starts tomorrow if anybody's going down there. If you aren't, well, join the club. One of these days I want to go down there, but I'm using up all my vacation to go to Hawaii this year. But if you're going, you got to get going pretty quick. It's an 11-hour drive. Dayton Hamvention down there in Dayton, Ohio. May 15th through the 17th, and that's at the Greene County Fairgrounds. Is there anybody planning on going there? I'd really like to. I'm going to have to try and schedule that for next year because, like I said, I'm using up all my vacation to go to Hawaii.
It's really big.
It is.
That's why they cover so many days.
It's huge.
You can't cover the place. So much acreage that they're devoted to.
They have a massive flea market, they call it. They also have people from all over the country show up, including people you've heard of, like Bob Heil and Gordon West and all kinds of people. They show up there. So if you've been watching podcasts of some of these guys that do ham radio podcasts and whatnot, you'll probably see them down there. It's from what I understand, it's really neat. One of these, I think next year I'm going to try and go, but this year can't make it. We've got Mickey, and he'd like to take a couple of seconds and let us know some of what's going on with SAG.
It is the beginning of a new year. Some of you may remember me stopping by a couple of times a year a few years ago. I stopped coming up when my back went wonk and I couldn't hardly move, let alone make a 45-minute drive. That's been fixed, so I'm back. UtahSag.org. Last year we actually organized as a Utah nonprofit corporation with the purpose of providing support and personnel to events, government agencies, whoever, whatever public service stuff might be needed where they need communications. We updated our website. We have our calendar that maintains information throughout the year. The calendar is set all the way through till next Skywarn in December. The first, other than the conferences, the first big event is the Slick Rock Open. It is a VOAD event down in Moab for 8 days, starting on March 20th. Then we start having the Rex Lee Run in Utah County, then the bicycle rides. And we've got a couple of rides that are up in this area coming up. The Front Runner, which starts in Salt Lake and ends at the Ogden Front Runner Station. And then the Utah School Employee Association ride, which starts and ends in Kaysville, but goes all the way up to Plain City. We used to get a bunch of your folks helping out with the events. And my fault for not coming up and getting you volunteered. So I'm back. We want to see a bunch of you guys coming out. It's a great way to get hands-on experience in a real-world situation with unscripted stuff going on. On a good day, you do this, and on a bad day, you end up like that. Just from doing this.
Hey, is that a bald joke?
No.
Are you saying, what if we're already like that? Are you saying we have bad days all the time?
Yeah. See, this is from oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That's from oh god, no. Oh god. So yeah. I'll be in back at the end of the meeting. If you want to know more, get my card, get information about the website. But it's UtahSag.org. We have our upcoming events section, and we have the calendar throughout the year, and we have a training section and a clubs list that I'm hoping is the most accurate in the state right now.
What does that stand for?
Yeah.
SAG doesn't stand for anything. It's like ham. Most people will tell you it's for support in gear or support in grub. We have one guy who tells everybody it's sirens and gods. Sirens as in Circe the siren. And there are folks who, on some of the events, really believe that that's what we are because we save them from things that they really don't want to be in anymore, like 110-degree temperatures in southern Utah or snowstorms up here on some of the rides that we've had. They've been caught in snow. So they really do think we're sirens and God's saving them from the environment. Appreciate the time.
Sure. The group Utah SAG, they take care of supporting a lot of events throughout the year. Bike rides, runs, you name it. They take care of all kinds of things. But they can only do it if they get the volunteers to do it. So if you find yourself with a weekend or a weekday or whenever these things are, and you want to help out, just hit the UtahSag.org site, take a look at what's going on. He also is really good about putting out the information on Facebook and the Ogden ARC Club.
We
And
have about 450 people on our email list, so if you want to get on the email list, we can do that too.
Yep. And
It's a great place too for new hands that don't know what to do with their licenses.
that's right. And if you want to get involved, the Davis Club is involved with like the Davis Cup, and they help support Davis Cup. And Aries here in Weber County, they help with the Ogden Marathon, and so we have all kinds of stuff going on all year long where you guys can get involved, use the radio, support a great event, and I've been down to help out with the Moab 240, and I'm probably going to go down and help with that again this year. And they're also needing some help over for a similar event that's over in Tahoe. The problem with Tahoe with communications is they don't have enough people that are capable of communicating in the right way. We're going to try, because they've got the air show and everything else going on over there all at the same time, plus some big bike ride and other things going on. So their repeaters are tied up. So they're going to try communicating either NVIS, or they're going to use single sideband on 2 meter, 6 meter, or 10 meter. And we're going to be playing with that for the next few months to see which is going to work best for that terrain in that area. And then we're probably going to go over there before the run and give it a try and see what happens. So there's a lot of events that you can get involved in, and if you don't want to travel all the way to Tahoe or down to Moab, there's a lot of stuff that's even closer all year long. You support some of the other bike race. What is that big one that goes through? Is it Lodija?
There's Little Red, 4,000 women in spandex on my list here. Great for single guys. If you're single. That's the first Saturday of June. There's the MS-150 in Logan as well. There's Lodija. There's the Cystic Fibrosis Ride up in Morgan County. There's the Wildflower Pedal Fest, 1,100 women in spandex. There's the Wonder Woman in Utah County.
That was only a few hundred women, so that was not as big.
They were 800 last year. Yeah, there's a bunch of different bike rides that are up in this area. The one that you guys used to be involved in a lot was the Tour de Cure in Box Elder. Unfortunately, the American Diabetes Association decided that Utah was not a viable market anymore 2 years ago. They pulled out. They closed up shop. They're not even in Utah anymore.
So the benefit of that is these people that do these things, that run these races, that ride the bikes, all of these people, they need that support because injuries happen, accidents happen, the environment gets to them, the elements get to them, all kinds of things. And without the support that ham radio can offer through communications, some of those people can sit around and need help for a while. So they have SAG operators and the drivers, and they go with the drivers, and they have weigh stations and aid stations, and everybody's got communications. So if there's a need, that need is communicated immediately.
There's also the Wasatch Back 100 and the Ragnar and the Salt Flats Endurance Run. I always thought 100-mile bicycle riders were stupid until I worked one of these 100-mile endurance runs, 100 miles on your feet.
I don't know if stupid's the right word, but crazy definitely comes into that realm. Very motivated. Like I said, I worked down at the Moab 240 last year, and I met a lot of these guys that were running it. I worked a couple of different aid stations. It was amazing. These guys are, the only way you're getting me to run anywhere is if someone's chasing me with an axe. And these guys do 240 miles.
Or there's food at the end.
Or there's food at the end, and I've been hungry for a while.
I decided to do the Wasatch 100 and then finished that and took off straight to Lodija and did Lodija also the next day.
Wow.
So over 300 miles in 2 days. There's also the Huntsman 140. Thor, I don't think, puts too much out about that. There's multiple different routes. One of them even loops up in towards Davis. I don't know if it reaches, Weber County or not. But then there's also the other route that starts to relay from Delta and comes all the way back up to the U. And the first half of that route doesn't even have cell phone service. They might have their own relay teams out there, but they have no communication. They rely on us. And last year, I was the only one out there to support the whole area. So even if you're adventurous and you're willing to drive, we've got, routes like that. We end up having to do simplex. We lose contact with net control and things like that. So it really ends up developing your skills to be able to think on the fly and establish a mobile net. So we've got other events like that I can try and get Mickey to put up on the website as well, if anybody is interested in something of that nature.
Okay, so there's a lot of opportunities. If you're interested in helping support that, just get hold of Mickey and utahsag.org, and he'll get you associated to that. Do we have any new yes?
I'm interested in a lot of that stuff, but I don't have transportation to get there.
Don't sweat it. There's
Anybody that's willing to come by and pick me up, I'll work on all of this stuff if I can get right.
So get hold of Mickey, and they can arrange that. Okay. Do we have any new ham upgrades? Any new upgrades?
Any new attendees?
Any new attendees? Oh, we got a handful. Let's start up here at the beginning.
I'm Ron Lucero, and I'm currently taking the class for a technician's license.
Okay.
I'm Charles Richards. I've been a ham operator for 20 years, but I've never been into a club.
Well, welcome. We've got a lot of operators that have been, I'm fairly new to the whole thing, but we've got a lot of guys here that have been doing it for many years, so.
I have some questions about my equipment.
Good. We've got a lot of guys that'll help you with that too. I saw some hands back here.
Yeah, I'm Robert Longer. I've been to the club before. I know Charles Richards up there. But me and my friend Jerry Neal, he's my blind friend. We've come here before, probably about 3 years ago now. But yeah, so
Okay.
I've got some questions I've got to get answered. I want to get some equipment, and so I'm sure things will get updated.
Yep. There's some new equipment out there that's really good.
On setting N0 IENC,
Okay.
and then out of AM radio system. Back into it.
Good.
Kathy here and you.
Good. Welcome. I've been thinking that we need to have a bring your wife to the ham club meeting, because my wife she's not interested in ham radio at all, because she doesn't think there's any women involved in ham radio at all. But look at this, we've got more than a handful of them in here. Maybe she might be a little more interested if she thought there was some more support for the fairer sex. So.
Have, 98% of the rides works that way. So that's kind of important.
Yeah.
No combination. Guys like us.
Okay, it'll take me a second to recover from that one. All right, today's presentation is from Joe here, K7CJT, and we'll be discussing his traveling and using repeaters, communications while abroad, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean foreign abroad, just not in your QTH. All right, I've done a little bit of that. I've used the calling frequency on 2 meter to keep in touch with people on the road, but knowing how and whatever to use with the repeaters is something I haven't done.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joe, Taranto K7CJT. I'm a fairly new ham as well. I've probably had my license for about 2.5 years, technician. Stan, I'm still studying, I promise. So every time I talk to Stan, we've been studying for you, General. Yes, I'm studying, but jobs and family kind of get in the way a little bit. I took this trip back in July of 2019 to go back and see my mother after the passing of my father, to help her out with some stuff. I hate flying, and I thought, and I love driving. So we took about it was about 7 days to get to North Carolina. My wife and I. Both my kids are grown, so they're all in their 20s. So we left them at home and said, "We'll see you in a month," which was very nice. So these are the states that we covered going out. So 19 states in 25 days is what we ended up doing. Again, that's who I am. This is the first field day I went to with Stan, and there's a buddy of mine, Troy, and we were up there, and that was the first experience I ever had with HF and talking around the planet. So I thought that was really, really neat, and I geeked out really hard, and then I started studying, and then, life gets in the way, so I'll get back into it. I was asked to discuss this trip. I was talking to Gil. I sent him an email. I gave him basically a trip report. I'm in the military. I'm retired military. So these trip reports. I gave him this trip report, and he asked me if I'd come here and talk about what I did to prepare, how long the trip was, and how many contacts I got, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of background about myself and radio. This wasn't the first time I've ever talked on the radio, was having a ham radio. I'm an air traffic controller by trade, so I've talked on radios all over the world, talked to all kinds of aircraft, do all kinds of things. I've been in air traffic control for almost 30 years. So I joined the Air Force when I was 18. That's what they told me I had to do, and I said okay. So there you are. One of my neatest, this is a pretty bad picture, but one of my neatest experiences with radio and talking was, we We had a C-17 come in and land. I was in Saudi Arabia. This isn't Saudi Arabia. We weren't allowed to take pictures there, but it's kind of basically the same thing. C-17 came in and landed on all of our cables. Cut all our radios, cut all our radar, cut everything. So I am not a tower controller. I'm strictly a radar controller. So we sit in the dark room and look at the blips on the screens. So it's my turn to run out. The tower guy comes running out. We grab the Jeep. It's a AN Mark 144. Has HF, UHF, and VHF radios in it. The tower controller sits in the driver's seat. The radar controller sits in the passenger seat. I grab my map. And we turn on all the radios. I start talking to airplanes, and we're plotting airplanes on a map with a grease pencil, doing all that kind of stuff. So we did that for about 4 hours because we had just launched a package into Iraq, and so they were all coming home and shot up and everything else. So that was my first real experience with mobile radio, doing real stuff. Why I got into ham radio? A couple buddies of mine, Troy, that one guy in the picture that I was sitting there with, we're all at work and we're all reading these books 1 second after, 1 year after the final day, and ham radio was big in these books. So the EMP hits, everything goes to crap, and everybody's running around, nobody communicating, this, that, and the other. And what ended up happening in these books is, they're talking about the deterioration of society and all this other stuff, but what some of them did is they went to an old library, they grabbed old magazines that had ham radio stuff in it, and they started building their own radios based on all these old magazines, the QST magazines. I don't know if it was QST in the book, but those kind of things, and they're building all these ham radios, and all of a sudden people are talking. And all of a sudden people are getting help, and all of a sudden people are getting food, and all of a sudden people are showing up to the community that have experiences to help the community out, and because cell phones are gone, regular telephone is gone. They even figured out how to run their own power grid so they could keep running the radios and generators and rebuilding generators and all kinds of stuff based on books in the library. I know everybody likes to go to the Google and do all their thing, and I'm a fairly young guy, and that's kind of what we do, but books are paramount to if something happens, if you're out and about, and if you've got no signal. You got books, you got information forever. So that's kind of why we got into it, and this is the other reason we got into it. So there I was minding my own business with my wife, and we're driving around Bear Lake, and I was like, I saw the water coming, and I'm like, we can make that. That'll be all right. So we didn't make it. So yeah, that was the runoff of a spring about 2 years ago. So we were sunk up to the doors. The tires were bad. My wife and I are trying to jam stuff under the wheels to try and get going. I had no cell phone with me. I wish I had a radio because I probably could have called somebody.
Must have been a Polaris.
Do what?
Must have been a Polaris.
There it was, yep. So this little 900 didn't have a lot of clearance. It's not really souped up or anything, so we thought we were being cool. This is the first year we own this thing too, so the first thing you want to definitely do is go get stuck in something.
You didn't have a winch on it either.
I did not have a winch on it. No. I have one now. I have one now.
You have one now.
I got new suspension, got new tires, got a winch. I think I'm going to be all right. I think I can make it next time. So the wife won't let me try it again. We were about up to our knees in mud on that one. But here I didn't have my phone, but there's cell signal here. I'm obviously right behind the community there. So but if that had happened while we're up riding around, because I have a little Balfong radio, everybody knows me. I have one I bring with me in my ride all the time, and I try to make sure that I know where the repeaters are. And the first thing I'll do is I'll try to get into one. At least I go, okay, if I walk to here, I know I can talk to this, and then I could probably get somebody. So you're never probably going to, up in the mountains, as well as I do, you might not get something because you're stuck behind a mountain or stuck behind whatever. You might have to walk a little bit to get to somewhere, but at least you know there's something out there. I have AT&T, and there's definitely no cell service up in those mountains. So that's kind of a little bit why I got into ham radio. So does anybody take long road trips? I mean, like really long road trips? Okay. I talked on the intertie one time to somebody going out of St. George headed to California, and I'm up here and I'm talking on the intertie. I was talking to him all the way into California on the intertie. So if you never use the intertie, it's kind of fun. I talked to somebody I was up in Logan and talked to somebody in Montana on my little bow phone on the Intertie. So the Intertie is pretty fun to play with. You get a lot of people. This is south of the border, so this is the border between North Carolina and South Carolina. That's where so North Carolina fireworks are illegal. Everybody goes to south of the border to buy all their fireworks and then ship them back up into North Carolina. So this is kind of like going into Evanston to get your illegal fireworks and bring them back, kind of thing. So they call it south of the border there. So that's my truck and my trailer. We're on the leg home, on the leg back to Utah here. So we'd already been.
Oh, you weren't driving that Volkswagen you had on the first?
Oh, no, sir. That one's in the shop. So, you know, you make long trips, and one of the things I wanted to try to do was how many repeaters were along the way, along my route, and I stuck to interstates because I am pulling a 27-foot fifth wheel with me, so I didn't want to get off the road too much. But, you know, how am I going to be able to talk to people? Because even on the interstates, there's spots where I don't have cell service. So how was I going to be able to talk to people? You know, my wife is a wonderful shotgun. She's great. I'm a control freak. I don't let her drive. It's just a thing. But she sleeps on me. So sometimes I get bored, and I want to get on the repeaters and maybe talk to somebody. I'd hit a repeater going through Rock Springs and say, hey, I'm sitting in my house. Where are you at? Oh, I'm on I-80 eastbound. Oh, that's cool. You know, so we're just talking about whatever. So I really wanted to have continuous communication along this trip. So I had cell service, and then when I didn't have cell service, I had radios, and then I had both. Whatever. Some of the towns we stopped in, that we stayed for a day or two, I'd find the local club. I'd find their repeater, get on there, talk to them, went for lunch in Enid, Oklahoma with the club there. Talked to the guys in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They were a hoot to talk to. So if you, it takes so this is basically my trip. So it takes a lot of planning to do a trip like this. So this is how we ended up going, and the reason we kind of went that way, I have a buddy I used to be stationed with in Kokomo, Indiana, so we kind of wanted to head there and see him and then go in. And my wife had never been through the southern states here, so that's why we came back. It only added like 2 hours to the trip total, so it wasn't horrible. But it was over 5,000 miles just on the trip, not counting the side trips that we took. So, preparation is key, and I want to make, like I said, I want to make sure I was going to be able to talk. And so some of the things, the repeater book, which is online, Chirp, I don't know if y'all know what Chirp is. It's the easiest way to download to, I don't know, almost any radio you have. So Chirp was really good. You know, there are apps that you could get that will, the repeater book is an app. So if you have the, you know, it's on all the three things, you can get the apps for your phone. The repeater book's really good because it'll tell you, where you just look up, because it'll say, okay, you're here, there's this repeater, it's the frequency, here's the offset, here's the tone, here's the everything, and it'll show you right on there. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Uh-huh.
Did you find that app fairly accurate or up to date?
Yeah, there's like one or two, because you know, anything's as good as the people that put the information in it.
Sure.
But I only ran into like one or two repeaters across the whole country that were not good. So, and it's not that the repeater's not, it's not that the information's not good, the repeater may be broken. You know, you couldn't get into it. So the repeater just could have been down. I don't know. It wasn't. But then these two books I found really helpful. And I brought them with me, and I'll pass them around if you want to look at them. This one, basically, if you look up where you're at, so this is the state of California, and there's pages upon pages upon pages, and the towns that you're going to go through, and how many repeaters they have, and the call sign of the repeater, the output, the input, the access, the club that owns it, and all kinds of stuff. So I can pass that around if you want to kind of look at that if you've never seen these. They're updating these all the time. But the repeater map book directory, this one I found really cool because, and I'll pass this one around too. So if you go to Iowa, say, or here's Kansas. So Kansas shows all the main interstates throughout the book. And it'll have, like, let's see, Kingsley, Kansas, it has 7 repeaters sitting there, and it has all the information for repeaters. So as I was sitting down with my Google Maps planning my trip, I had this book open with me. Okay, I'm going to go through here, so I'm probably going to stop around here. So then I have, okay, here's this town, it's got these many repeaters on it, and it tells you, you know, normally how many people are on that repeater. There's some repeaters in here that show 0 for people. So it's just there, so if you're looking to probably talk to somebody, that's probably not the repeater you want to plug into your radio. You know, so So I'll pass this around to you. This is a pretty neat little book. This one is the 17th edition. Again, they're always updating. So stuff's only as good as what people give to put into the system there. So this was my comm plan. As being an air traffic controller, I love comm plans. Comm plans are easy. I channelized everything. So the ICOM radio that I have in my truck, and I have the information on that at the end of the slideshow. I just started because I had a big blank spot of, I think it holds like 1,000 channels or something like that. But I just picked a blank spot that was going to give me enough. So I had channel 130 to channel 196. And this was, and then I identify them. So there's like Evanston, Rock Springs, Laramie, Cheyenne, there's Ogallala, Nebraska, there's North Platte, there's Lincoln, there's Omaha, there's Des Moines. So as I went down, I went all the way to, so FAY is Fayetteville, so that was the first leg of the trip. So it looks like a lot of information, but again, having a good co-pilot is really nice, because I'll look at the map and go, hey, we're in Ogallala, what channel is that? She'll go, that's channel 141. Is it 141? Hey, K7CJT, call CQ, anybody out there? You know, kind of thing. And I hit some people. The repeaters, you know, it's time of day, like our repeater's quiet during, everybody's at work or everybody's whatever, then everybody's on the road coming home or going to work. Our repeater everybody starts talking and, hey, how was your day, da-da-da-da. So I mean, if you're driving through in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, you're probably not going to get a lot of people that want to chat with you. What I found is, and you know as well as I do, repeaters only go so far. So what I found was, you know, 146.52 and go fishing. That's what I call it. Yeah.
Don't find very many people on it.
On this?
Yeah.
I actually, now I thought this was pretty remarkable. Y'all need to tell me if it was or wasn't. On my whole trip around and back, I got 8 people. I thought that was pretty remarkable. I honestly didn't think I was going to get any. Because, so I have 4486, our repeater, plugged into my ICOM in the truck, because I can dual monitor UHF and VHF. And I have this on the other side. And every once in a while, even riding around here, I'll see somebody's license plate with their call letters on it. Somebody's ham radio license plate. And I go, hey, so, you know, and I'll call them out, and then I never get any. So, I thought 8 people was remarkable. Y'all, yeah, go ahead.
You use APRS with the QSY information to show your frequency that you're listening to.
Okay, you have to say that again. You may have talked over my head.
He wants it in English.
Dumb it down for us.
I'm guessing that would probably be.
Yeah, so if I don't know what you asked me, the answer is probably no.
Yeah.
So, but again, I got one guy I was in. Let's see, I was in Iowa. I was going eastbound on I-80. I went fishing. He answered me. He's going westbound on I-80, and we were coming at each other. We waved at each other. It's like, hey, I'm in the red truck with the brown truck. Oh, hey, I see you. And we went this way. So for 20 minutes we talked and whatever. And his wife was sitting next to him with a notepad. And my wife was sitting next to me with a notepad, and they were writing down everything. And they're writing down everything because his buddy was coming. He was from Colorado. His buddy was coming to Utah. So I'm like, hey, he was going to be up in the north or in Salt Lake area. Have him get on our repeater. This is the stuff. And I'm giving him all the information. But I don't know if he ever checked in because I wasn't here to find out. But we talked for 20 minutes. We waved at each other, flashed our lights, and kept going. He was fairly new at ham radio too, so we thought this was like the neatest thing, like talking to the moon. Go ahead. What's up, Larry?
Yeah, I have pretty good luck with that, with frequency, just traveling between here and Montana. I do that fairly often up I-15. There's 2 or 3 cities along the way that somebody's listening. One in Dillon and one in Malad that's usually on, and one in Pocatello. Okay. And then I catch the truck drivers every once in a while that are on. And you can see their antennas.
That was the other thing I found that I was doing too, is since I got into ham radios, I'm driving, I'll look for truck drivers and I'll look for the antennas that they have on their trucks. Yeah. And they got that big fat CB antenna, that's all they got. I'm like, oh, he's got a little skinny antenna, I'm going to talk to him to see if I can get him. I never did, but I never got anybody. But so that was my solution between repeaters.
The only person I ever got around here on that was Stan.
That got stand a couple times. If I'm ever feeling lonely, I'll get on the repeater. Stan always answers me. I love it.
There are some of us who keep that tuned in on our
Yeah, so I do too. So I have it on mine so I can monitor both. So it's pretty nice. But and I know y'all know this as well as I do. So from the mountains as you head east, it just gets flat. So once you pass Denver, it ain't nothing but wide open spaces of wide open spaces. So if you look in the books as I'm passing it around, you'll notice like Utah has less clumps of repeaters. And as the further east you go, you get into Kansas, you get into Nebraska, you get into Iowa, you get into, and then you start getting into the tree belt. So you're getting into Kentucky, and you're getting into Virginia, and you're getting into North Carolina, where it's just, you're driving down the green tunnel of trees. There are a lot more repeaters out there because there's a lot more stuff in the way of the thing. So that's why my comm list was so heavy going. The further east I got, the more repeaters I thought I needed, so I could, be able to talk. So that was something that I had to plan for. But I didn't really think about it because living in Utah, even all my air traffic control radios are all up on top of mountains. So I can talk forever on these things. Even our repeaters on top of a mountain, we can talk forever on that thing. So the further east you go, the more repeaters you're probably going to want to prepare for, and there's a lot more switching that you're going to have to do. So here's the stuff that I have on my truck. So, and then again, ham radio is like trucks, is like cars. Everybody likes their own stuff. But this is what I found. The reason I like this one for my truck is a brand new truck. I'm not going to drill holes in it, so that's just not going to happen. So this has a clamp to it that's on the hood of my truck, and I can bend it and pick it up and do whatever I want to with it. So I don't have to, I can get in and out of the garage and stuff like that. So that's the antenna that I have on the truck. This is the ICOM that I bought because that's the one I could afford, and it looked like it was going to do the best for me while I'm learning and playing and doing all that stuff. And again, this thing's been phenomenal for me. With ICOMs though, they don't come with any brackets. That's how they make all their money.
Yeah.
So, I didn't realize that when I bought it. I'm looking for brackets, and I call, oh yeah, those are all separate, and they're $80 a piece, and they're all all specifically for a specific machine. But that's the one I have in the truck. Then everybody knows the Baofeng. And I brought this with me just in case I broke down and I had to walk. So if nothing else, I could leave my wife with the vehicle, I could start doing, and at least we would be able to communicate if I didn't have cell service. So I always have my handheld with me. I got it in my backpack right now. So I always bring, and this was the first radio I ever bought, and I paid $60 for it on Amazon. And I made my first contact, and the first thing the guy said was, "Oh, you must be on one of them Baofeng radios." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, you can tell." And I went, "Oh." I'm like, "So did I buy a piece of crap or what?" He said, "No, it's a good radio, but you can tell." Okay. So.
Was that your first radio?
That was my very first radio.
So that was infinitely better than the one you had before.
That was
definitely. And we've had this conversation many a time in this club about just that. The Baofeng, while it's a decent radio, it's not a great radio, but it's infinitely better than the can with the straight.
It is definitely better than the It's just the truth. It was, and I loved it. I have two of them now because, like I said, I don't mind getting stuck in the mud with the Baofeng radio. If I drop it, okay, I got 6 more at home. Okay, great. If I make it home, I have 6. So that's gonna be good. So, are there any questions for me? That was basically. It took me about. Because I work and everything, it took me about 4 days to completely plan this entire trip with the radio stuff, and then of course all the logistics, packing all the stuff and making sure you got everything. And then hauling a trailer across country is infinitely more time consuming than it is to just hop in your car and go. So it's an extra set of tires, an extra thing. But that was pretty much it. Is there any questions?
Do you have any equipment in your trailer?
Yeah, so when we got into this whole, because of the books and everything, we got into this whole ham radio thing, and we were looking like, man, it'd be really cool to build our own. And then we looked at all the parts and all the stuff, and it was really expensive, and we went, well, really cool not to build your own. And so we found this thing that was called a Hamo can. Has anybody heard of the Hamo can?
Built one.
Okay, so there was this company online that was building them, and it was $300, and you got it was a Jetstar radio, this, that, and the other, and we got it in the mail, and we looked at it and went, that is bulky. So what we ended up doing is we went to Harbor Freight, bought the Pelican cases, the Apache cases, cut it all out, ripped it all apart, gutted it, built a face plate for it and everything. We put those radios in there, so now it's dust-proof, waterproof, they can float, and all that other stuff. And that's what I have in my trailer. My son calls it the nuclear football. I just pick up my case and walk down with it. And on the trailer, what I ended up doing was I have a Slim Jim antenna, you know, once you just throw in a tree or whatever for emergencies, because that's in one of those books. I was walking, I needed a better antenna. It hooks up to the Balfong. You hook it into a tree, now it's 20 feet in the air, and now you've got, you know, more distance and a better antenna than the thing you got on there. So what I do is I have a 25-foot PVC pole that collapses into itself, and I have a clamp on the back of the trailer. So I put the PVC pole in, I hook the Slim Jim up to it, I raise the antenna, run the cable into the trailer, and now I have a 25-foot antenna and that radio. Okay.
So that's the reason to get your HF.
Yep, I know. I appreciate all the support. I'm working.
I have all that, but I do it on HF.
I will find you guys when I get there. So
we talk all over the world instead of just repeaters. So
no, but I like you guys too much. Yeah, go ahead.
Come to one of our events where I set up my camper. We have the multiple VHF radios and the HF radios set up.
You know, what you said was really interesting, and I really would like to, I'm going to get your card and stuff and look into that, because I'd really like to participate in that stuff. Like I said, I've done things on radios as an air traffic controller. I know how to talk on the radio. The other thing too about this is the most intimidating thing for me about ham radio is the building of the radios and the workings of the radios. I've been talking on radios for 30 years. Push the button, I talk to everybody, they do what I say, I answer them, they answer me, everything's great.
So what you're saying
but
is
when it
you
breaks,
prefer net control.
But when it breaks, I go, maintenance, I broke it. And then, you know, all my buddies come running in and go, what'd you do? I said, I don't know, I was talking on it, and now I'm not talking on it, I need to talk. So, now I can talk to them. I know about this much more than I used to know, so I could talk to them a little bit more about what I think might be going on, so they can, you know, check it out a little bit quicker. But, you know, my whole thing was given a radio. The radio is awesome. I talk on the radio. I go home for the day. But when the radio doesn't work, I don't know how. I didn't know how and why the radio was working. I know it was sending a signal out. I know somebody was getting the signal. I know they were sending a signal back, and I know I was getting a signal, and then I was happy, yeah.
I can help you there. I am the ARRL technical specialist from Riverdale Utah.
Okay. Very good. Definitely going to get your card. Go ahead.
Did you ever run into any CBers? I've seen them in California where a CB shop will take a VHF, UHF ham radio and program it for all these repeaters. And supposedly they're just supposed to listen. I just wondered if you...
I have not come across any of that. I haven't come across that before. I didn't know that was a thing to look for. You know, so again, I just really, as I'm getting better at this, I'm noticing more and I'm getting deeper into it. But right now, I'm looking for skinny antennas and license plates. Is really what I'm looking for to get anything. One of the things I found, I was sitting at it because we did KOAs across the country when we were staying and on this trip and. I was parked next to this guy, and I'm sitting there drinking my beer and looking. The guy comes up, and he's got a ham radio antenna, and he's got his license plate and this, that, and the other. So I walked over and talked to him. He goes, yeah, since I've left, you know, he was from Washington State. He goes, yeah, since I left home, I just turn it off. And I'm like, well, what if I needed you? He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, I thought that's what this whole thing was for, was communication and camaraderie and company and help. And if you're going to turn it off, then what good are you outside of the state of Washington?
And don't go up to Washington. I found a system that they don't publish any of the information to actually access it. It's like our intertie.
Oh, really? Well, I know.
Covers the whole central and eastern side of the state of Washington, but you got to be a member and send an email in order to get the access information.
So what I found out too is Colorado is a pay-to-play in their intertie. So I was looking at their intertie. It would be really awesome if I get into their intertie as I'm driving across. Because I went, across Wyoming, and you could get into Colorado, northern Colorado, if you could get into their intertie. And then coming back, we went from Lyman to Grand Junction to home. And so I was looking into it, so I'm looking up on the thing, and I couldn't find any information, and I got on the Colorado Ham Radio Club site, and they go, it's a pay-to-play system, and I'm like, well, I didn't think that was the point of this whole thing, so. Yeah, go ahead.
We've got one of those here in Utah, it's the DAR system.
Okay. But the thing about it is, though, and the other thing that I really like, and y'all, most of y'all are probably part of the UHF Society, or the VHF Society, rather. You got the intertie on the front cover, and then the Sinbad intertie on the back cover. And this is what I go into when I go down riding in Moab. I try to get into those and stay in those as much as I can. But those are free interties to be in, so you don't have to pay to play, which is... I just thought it was kind of discouraging when you get into some of these places and they have pay-to-play repeaters. And I'm like, dude, I'm just passing through. I just want to use you for an emergency. I don't want to get on there and chat for days on the thing. But that's another thing I ran into.
So, I'm probably just about as green as anybody here. I'm just getting started. What advice you got for a newbie completely starting green?
Once you get your license, get on that radio, stay on that radio, talk to everybody, and enjoy. Don't have radio fright.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing to get over. Is just you're going to throw your name out under the airwaves, and it's just going to go flying around. Somebody's going to grab it. Somebody's going to talk to you. And these guys have never set me up for failure. These guys have always been, hey, I called Stan the other day. I'm like, why are all my radios screeching? I didn't know the 4486 was broke. So I turned on my radio, and it was just making this loud squeal. I'm like, oh my God, this was in my truck. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll just... So I reset at the factory and reloaded everything with the turbo. I'll just do a reset right now. Well, that didn't work. And then I go in there and I turn on the nuclear football, and it's screeching at me. And I turn on the valve fongs, and they're screeching at me. I'm like, okay, something's wrong with the repeater. So then I just go to Stan, who's my go-to guy, and I go, Stan, I text him, I don't understand why my radio screech goes, the repeater's broken.
But there's 3 other repeaters, you know that, right?
Yeah, but I like that one. So he goes, the repeater's broken. And I'm like, oh. He goes, go to this other one. Okay. And then, here's the offset, here's the tone, here's the thing, here's the... And then I get on that, and then, hey, we're all talking again, everything's great. He goes, wait till Sunday, it's supposed to reset itself. I'm like, okay, great. So now I know if all my radios are screeching, I'll probably wait till Sunday, it should repeat. And I don't have to reset the factory and redo everything. I spent probably 2 hours in the truck resetting everything. But you know what, I'm better at that now. So that's the other thing too, is don't be scared to try. You really can't break it. Get on the radio. But there's guys out here that'll help you, And I go in there and go, hey, this is what I'm thinking, when I get my license, I saw something about building a flagpole antenna in the front yard with the flagpole that I already have. So I'll turn that into a UHF antenna. I'd really like to, HF antenna. I'd really like to do that, but I don't want to invest it until I pass my test. So.
He wants to play the game, will it tune?
Yeah. And then I know I got people for that too. So. Yeah, go ahead.
You talked about fishing, and I like that analogy. And just throwing your call out. I guess 2 questions. One, what was the general attitude of the people that came back to you? And what was your most interesting conversation on your trip?
So, going fishing, so you just throw it out there and you just cast a net and you see what you get. And I did not talk to a single disgruntled human being. Everybody was happy. A lot of people were like, oh, I didn't even know people. I heard this twice. I didn't know people were on this frequency.
They were.
That was difficult, but here's the thing: is they're not fishing; they're just out there waiting for the fish to come to them. They're just sitting there waiting to see if somebody's going to call them, and then they'll talk. So I said, my wife's asleep. I'm bored. I've heard the same song 82 times on the radio, so I'm just going to go. Well, I'm going fishing. Hey, K7CJT calling CQ, and they go, hey, what was your call again? get them again. Oh, well, that's who I am. And then, you know, my wife will wake up, I'm talking on the radio, and then she'll grab the notepad. She'll start writing down call signs, because then you can go to the AR website and find out who they are and where they live and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of curious for me, so I like to see where people are from. You know, not that I'm stalking them or anything. But I like to, we are. I like to find out where they're from.
Send QSL cards.
I do that. When I talk with people, I get their call. I make sure I've got, you know, at least that information, even if I forget their name 6 seconds after I talk to them.
And I'm notorious for that.
Me too. But I then look them up with the call sign, and then I send them my QSL card.
Okay, that's
And
a good idea.
I've never received one back, however, but I've sent out a few. I actually got one of my own back because the guy didn't have his address updated in the database. Just a reminder, be sure if you've changed your address on your FCC license that you go out and update it. That way...
Even this green rookie knows that.
We try to beat it into people's heads because we don't want you to get in trouble with the FCC. We don't want them to cancel your license. We don't want any of that. So if you change addresses, just update it. It's easy. It's free. And then people can send you QSL cards if they're traveling through the area and you happen to talk to them. I do the same thing going down to Vegas to visit my son. I talk with people. A real good spot is down there by Mesquite, that area. There's a lot of people that they winter over down there, so it's nice and warm. And so as you're driving through there, they've got their antennas up on the back of their rigs. They've got all that stuff. They aren't doing anything special, so you go through there and you can talk with 10 people on your way through.
Yeah, you get down St. George, there's repeaters all over the place. Got that one, the 3 repeaters are connected together.
Yep, they've got lots of communications down there.
I have a Yaesu FT8900 in my truck. For those of you who are not familiar, it's a quad-wheel rig, 70cm, 2-meter, 6-meter, 10-meter. And as much fun as calling on 2-meter simplexes, 10-meter FM simplex out of my truck. I've talked to New York State, Florida, Oklahoma, Indiana, California, Washington State, and my favorite was talking to the guy who wanted the baby.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, I think it was Tuesday. Clicked on my radio and I was just listening, you know, because I don't have my license yet. So I was just listening, and I was listening, and I'll have to show you what frequency I got it on, but anyway, I picked up this guy in Buffalo talking to a guy in Jersey. And I've just got a little Bofang radio, you know, and with a long antenna, and I had a guy talking from North Dakota to somebody in New Orleans, just listening, you know, back and forth. And I'm not sure exactly where I'm connected on, but I was just listening, and
it might be the.
I gave the frequency, IRLP frequency.
Yeah,
that's the one from the class. Yeah, I picked up. I wrote it down, and I just put it in my radio, and I was listening to these guys clear over on the East Coast, and I was just amazed.
There's that one on Farnsworth Peak that they have the worldwide friendship net. So and you can hear people. There's a guy that calls into that regularly from Australia, and there's another guy that calls in from Taiwan. So you hear those guys all the time, but they're attached to IRL, so you can be anywhere and talk on an IRL repeater.
That was amazing. I was stunned because, you know, I hadn't really, you know, punched into any frequency or anything, really paid much attention to it because I was just learning. But I punched in that frequency, and all of a sudden I was getting these guys over on the East Coast. It was just amazing.
Did you have something?
There's the worldwide
reflector system. There's the eastern reflector.
People be checking in from all over the United States.
And the western reflector.
We'd like to hear what's going on up front.
Excuse me?
And then I think it's the 449. 425 is one they're doing.
That's the western, yeah.
Then there's the eastern reflector, which I think is on the 725. Yeah,
just get on your radio.
And then
there's also the wind system that I found out
the
about
biggest
when I
thing
was down in
is
Southern California that covers
say something wrong.
the west, the south, even parts back up, back east in the New England area.
And then if you're into digital,
go driving around in the mountains.
you have Wires X, DMR, D-Star,
do a radio check on the repeater.
where you can talk all over the country. Or all
You got a connection.
And I'll listen to our repeater because people go up in the mountains around our repeater stuff in the summertime, and they'll be walking or hiking or whatever. Go, hey, this is so and so calling CQ, loud and clear. Okay, great. Yeah, we're up here hiking. I'm like, okay, I'm here if you need something. I just listen. I just keep it on in the house and listen for people. Mostly doing radio checks, which makes me feel better that they know that somebody else is out there listening. So, yes, sir.
I don't know what your radio is capable of. Is most of your communications on analog, or do you have some digital repeaters?
It's both.
You use both.
Yeah. And D-Star? Yes. Or it's Icon, I'm sorry. Icon? D-Star? Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of options. I've got the Yaesu radios. I've got one of the FT400. With the Yaesu, I've got Fusion. I've got Wires X, and I've used it a little bit here and there. I don't have. Normally, when I'm driving, I'm not going very far, so carrying on a conversation at any length doesn't get me anywhere. I go from my house to the train stop. So, but there's D-Star. There's all kinds of stuff digitally that will allow you to talk all over the country, not just, or even all over the world, not just locally. And they can be had for. They're kind of expensive, but they're not out of the range of possibilities. So.
Right, cheaper than a cell phone.
Yeah, my cell phone was $1,000. My radio was $300.
Yeah, you can get a Yaesu that does our system.
Just with the radio too, to get the right one.
Yeah,
true.
the FT70 and the
You try and find my son to
FTM100
get his
isn't all
radio.
that expensive
My
either.
phone. I said, yeah, but it's a radio. I'm working on him, Stan. I'm working on him. So that's it for my presentation. So I hope you all got something out of it. The book's still floating around. Please look at them. The book was very helpful for me to get going. And I like paper. I'm an analog guy, even though I'm pretty young. But I'm an analog guy. I like paper because paper doesn't fail me. And if nothing else, I can start a fire with it. So.
Yeah, electronics don't burn. So I did look up Repeater Book, and there's something about Repeater Book I kind of like. It's got the Maidenhead location of where we're at on it. So it looks up my location based on the GPS, and it says that DN31XE. So it knows right where we're at. And I look down through the list, and I find this weird W7SU. Anybody know who that is? We got a couple of those in here, and it's got all the updated information, including the 1469 that's got the DCS tone on it. It's all in there. So it is all up to date, and it downloads it locally to your phone. So.
Yeah, so if you're in Des Moines or whatever, you pull this up, it goes, hey, this is your location, so here's the repeaters for your area.
One other thing too, if you've only got something like a dual band, you can also sort it by frequency and everything else, distance, call sign, even eliminate everything else except for what your radio is capable for. So if you've only got a 2-meter ring, you select the 2-meter, that's all that you'll see. If you got the dual band, you select those, that's all that you'll see.
Yeah,
It's updated regularly. I see it update on my phone all the time.
Yeah, I was curious. I haven't used this app in I don't remember how long, and so I just pulled it up and it's got all the new stuff in it. So I figured they're doing pretty good with it.
2 miles from here.
And of course, with your phone, if you're really into just keeping your phone, if you want to do radio communications, there's Echolink. Sure, you can always get on that network.
Let me put in a good word for your explanation of Maidenhead. What is it? Maidenhead.
Yeah, Maidenhead.
In the last newsletter, you ought to read it.
23 and 725.
Yeah, I've had some fun playing with the Maidenhead stuff last little while, and decided to write up a little thing about it, and it's in the newsletter. So just one last little bit of thing here. This coming month's February's QST has a thing. It says "Meet the Combo Key," and it's got this really nice looking key on the front. It's got regular Morris key on there and a paddle on the side there. It's not for sale. You build it. It's got the instructions and all the plans and everything you need to do to actually build that thing inside the magazine here. And they've also got, and the article right before that one in here is one on putting together one of those DMR hotspots, or those digital hotspots. So if I just put one together, and if you want to put one together and read about it and follow the directions and everything else. This QST magazine comes from the ARRL, and it's got a ton of useful and neat information in there. If you haven't joined the ARRL, I'd ask you to consider it. And you get this magazine every month, and it's a great one. Yeah?
You might let everybody know, if they don't already know, about ARRL's new magazine you can get on the air.
That's right. There is a new magazine that the ARRL just put together. It's called On the Air, and I think January was the first issue.
Yep.
And
there's 6 a year.
So if you're a member, you can download it on your electronic device and read it. And I haven't read it, but I did open it up and look at it, and the articles are geared for the rest of us. Let me just put it that way. I mean, the first article in there talked about the ionosphere and the different levels and what happens at night. And it looked to be a really great discussion, but I haven't taken the time to read it yet. So if you're new to the hobby, or maybe not feeling up to snuff, I can't remember how I dealt with it, but I really like that. That would be the one to choose.
And they also have a lot of other information online, and we also have the Ham and Eggs Net on Tuesday nights. Yes. Yeah, they've got that podcast out that they're doing. You can also tune into Ham Nation's podcast every Wednesday night. There's a lot of really good information if you're looking to find out more about the hobby and get more involved, especially if you want to learn how to build things. The Smoke and Solder section on Ham Nation is really good. Teach all about how the radio works and putting things together. So, is there, yes?
The Davis County Amateur Radio Club sponsoring a general class starting this Thursday, 23rd, running every Thursday evening from 6 to 8. You got to travel all the way into Layton.
So it's over in the Layton location?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you heard that, if you're looking to get your general, a good opportunity would be at the class. Spencer does the class over there. I've helped out. It's starting this Thursday. It's worth the time to go to. He's really good at giving you all the information. And so if you're looking to get your general,
I'm listening.
it's over at Layton, at the city offices there in Layton. It's in the basement of the, what's that building?
Layton City Office.
Layton City Office building. It's in the basement. Just go down the elevator, straight across the hallway from the elevator.
There's no cost to take the class. We're using the Stu Turner general license course book. It sells for $4.95 or something online. But the Davis Club purchases some, so we can sell it for like $21.
Okay.
If you want to use that, you can use any book you want. Cover all the material, but that's a good book. They upgrade to general and get on HF. Upgrade to general now while the conditions are garbage. Really sad when everyone else is not on VHF.
Yeah, someone told me that.
Conditions.
So someone actually told me that we had a couple of sunspots go by, which means that's more than we've had in a little while. So if conditions are improving, we want to get everybody out on the radio again. Except it'll get real busy, but now would be a good time to get in there and get your license. So, is there any other business or anything for the club?
Memberships. Where do we pick those?
Memberships. Is Jay here?
No, he had his granddaughter is getting married today.
What, is that some excuse or what?
We said it was all day, so.
I can imagine. It's probably quite busy. All right, so normally if you want to join the club, you would talk to Jay. We do have a form that's online on the OARC website. ogdenarc.org, is that right? And you can download that, fill it out, bring it to any club meeting. You can contact Jay at any time. His contact information's on there. Apparently he's busy today, so. But yeah, you can take care of it that way. The rest of us, we could take the money, but it's just better to stick with the treasurer on that one. So it might buy me lunch. If there's nothing else for the club, I guess we'll close this out and let you guys mill around and ask some of the questions you guys have of the other club members on things that you came to get asked today. But thank you for coming, and we'll see you next month. We'll be next door next month. I'll make sure that information gets out. Watch the website for details, and it'll be in the newsletter.